had a very good idea, but this is a very kind of basic system, and we had ways that we could think of to really expand this to a lot more, much more of a game platform. I can't talk about it a lot, unfortunately, but we had a way that we could take what she was already doing and take it to a much higher level. So she was very interested in that, so we ended up forming lines to work together based on that. So, but yeah, a Google Scholar can show you exactly who's working in a field that you find interesting or who's already trying to use techniques. But, and again, a lot of times researchers who are trying to do games for health, they'll call over to the computer science department. They'll say, we want to build games for health. And they'll take somebody who's not necessarily into it, but they'll say, well, all right, here's a program, this programmer will work on your project. And they pay them their whatever, the kind of stipend that they pay to do these things. But that person might not necessarily be qualified or interested in doing it, whereas someone like you would be much more qualified and much more interested in doing it, and would probably be a better fit. But they don't know that. They don't know you. They can't find you. So you have to make yourself available to them. And so when you've, how many projects are you working on with that?
We're currently working on, I think, 4 or 5 different projects. One's with the CDC. Mm-hmm. We're doing, can't remember what the William Brown University. We've done with one with Kansas City, mm-hmm. which is a pediatric anxiety. We've done with anxiety. We've done PTSD with an application called BraveMind, which was formerly called Virtual Iraq, with California.
Right.
So yeah, we do all sorts of things like fear of flying, fear of heights, obesity, phobia, all sorts of
phobias are big in video games.
Yeah.
And what's it been like working with the researchers?
We actually have a team of clinicians in-house that we work with, but we also, like I said, we work with, partner with a lot of people outside of our company.
Yeah, we file for the grants jointly, so the grants are awarded to our company and them. So it's we submit the grants with our researchers and theirs together, so we kind of work with the team.
So when you say theirs, you mean a university?
Yeah, whatever university, yeah.
Right, and they get the grant or you get the grant?
It's awarded jointly
to
to
both
both
of
of us.
them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an interesting workflow with, when you're working with a researcher and game developers, just building out the game and making sure every aspect of the game is like clinically relevant, and you're following, keeping to, I guess, all the ties of, psychology or whatever it may be, and making sure that comes through in your game mechanics. Sometimes even down to the art.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we do that too. I mean, we'll take our art to the actual groups that we're going to end up testing on before we're ready for a clinical trial. We'll take the art and we'll do like a focus group with a small sample of the people who are going to be in the testing later on, and we'll see what they say about it. And they surprise us all the time. They always tell us things that we didn't expect, because each population, and you want to tailor these things to specific populations. The future of this is probably not going to be one-size-fits-all interventions. It's probably going to be just like the big thing in medicine now is specifically tailored genetic interventions. Tailoring an intervention to a population, a particular age group or demographic or disease type, they're all going to have, like we were looking at pediatric age populations, and we found that even within that, we subdivided that small, there's still 2 populations within that, because you have people born with HIV and people who acquire HIV. And they, even at the same age, they have very different kind of, I mean, you can't always generalize, but there are generalities about both populations that aren't the same with each other. So when we test our art, we test the game styles with these populations, we find that the different populations give us different answers. But you can make a game, you can make kind of an overall game that has 2 different versions tailored in 2 different ways. And that's one thing we find is very useful too. And that's another thing that research can do for games, besides what games can do for research. So do you have anything released yet, or are you having in the wild, the fields?
Well, most of the things that we do are mostly, a lot of the grants that we get have 2 phases, and the first one is just the feasibility. So
are you doing SPIRs, or are you doing R1s? SPIRs, Okay, so
I'm
you
not
have
on
the
that.
phase one, phase two.
I just make the things.
It's probably a
But a lot of the times, like the first phase of a grant is they go and test it out and see how successful it is, and then we implement any changes or anything that they say like this worked, this didn't work. Sometimes we'll build it from the ground up with new tools. Sometimes we'll add to what we already have. But
Right.
for the most part, the things that we've made have been mostly for research purposes, for them to see if whatever they're proposing actually works and does what it needs to do.
And you think these are going to turn into a full intervention that you'll release soon?
We're hoping to.
But the good thing is, in the meantime, they're getting paid, right? So that's and they're keeping their teams alive, and they're able to do good work while they're on their way to making something that one day you might actually see in public. So that's a great formula for building up a studio. One of the things I'm going to talk about in my talk tomorrow about getting these grants is that a lot of these grants will not only fund your current research, your current work in the games for health space, but they will give you money towards building your whole game studio. Right? They will actually pay things that are not direct costs to the particular problem they want solved, just because they want you to live as a game studio. They want you to live as a company. And they know that if you're just project to project, you're not necessarily going to survive. But the only way you'll survive is if you'll have the money to keep your whole company functioning. So you can get 40-50% more on top of what a direct engagement costs. So there's a lot of advantages to structuring these kind of arrangements. That once you find researchers you can work with and get these kind of grants that are available, that they're looking for people like you who can give them this kind of work and give them games for health. It becomes a very lucrative deal. So we're getting close to our time. So if anyone has any final questions, we'll take any last thoughts. It can be kind of a complex riddle to crack, but then so is building a game studio and getting funding and staying alive. It's all tricky work as well. But this can be one way that you can build a game studio that builds, and you can build entertainment products and games for health in the same studio. There's nothing stopping. There's nothing in any of these arrangements that stop you from doing that. So this can be a solution to the riddle of how you build a game studio. So good luck, everybody, and good luck finding your researchers and making this problem work. Next year, maybe someone will have some success stories to share about how they handle it. Thanks for coming.